When the air is clean, then it requires a lot of supersaturation in order for the water droplets to form by the development of embryonic water droplets from the water vapor due to condensation. And as the size of the water droplets grow, okay, or the radius of the water droplets grow, okay, then the energy or the work done required for the formation of the water droplets also increases, or requirement of the energy required for the formation also increases, right? So initially, when the water vapor pressure is less than the saturation water vapor pressure, okay, when E is less than ES, okay, let me just write on the whiteboard. When E is less than ES, okay, then for the growth of the water droplet, or for the increase of the water droplet size, we need a lot of energy, okay. And if you recall, in the last class, we denoted that by delta E, okay. It requires a lot of energy for the growth of the water droplet, okay. And since it is not so easy to increase the energy, so that takes place at the cost of the evaporation, right? But in other case, when E is greater than ES, then the radius of the water droplet would increase, okay. The radius of water droplet, suppose we have a cloud, okay, and in that you have got lots of water droplets, okay. Some may be bigger in size, okay, others may be small in size, okay. They're all the water droplets inside the cloud. So when E is greater than ES, all right, then the delta E required for the formation of the embryonic water droplets is proportional to the radius of the water droplets till it reaches a threshold value. It reaches a threshold value, and if you recall, I had uh, shown you a diagram like this, in which we had delta E on the y-axis, and we had say R, the radius of the water droplet, on the x-axis. And as I said initially, when the E is less than ES, then this is how the growth of the water droplet would take place. But in such case, because it requires a lot of energy for the formation of the embryonic droplets, I mean, just for this formation by itself, without any collision. See, once the droplets start colliding with each other, like now bigger droplets collide with the smaller droplets, then the situation is different, right? But initially, when there is no collision, then at that time, for the formation of the embryonic water droplets requires a lot of energy, right? Okay. Whereas when the E is greater than ES, then let us say like this one. This is the case when E is greater than ES. Then we have got a threshold value of the radius of the water droplets till which the size of the droplets will grow, but beyond that, to grow further, it requires some other mechanism to occur. And that mechanism can be because of the collision between water droplets, collision between larger and smaller water droplets, because larger water droplets will start falling down under the gravity at a faster rate. Let us say this is the surface. Okay, well, let me increase the size of this also. Okay, so this is the surface. So under the influence of the gravity G, okay, the larger droplets will start falling faster than the smaller droplets, and they will collide with each other, and they will go that way. Okay, so this is another mechanism. But at the same time, suppose air has also the other foreign substances. Okay, air has got other foreign substances like aerosols in it. Then it becomes much easier for the water vapors to condense on these aerosol particles, because these aerosol particles act as a platform or base for the condensation of the water vapor, right? And it also depends upon what type of aerosols are present, okay, in the air. What type of aerosols are present? See, aerosols can be of different types. Some aerosols will have the affinity for the water, in the sense that if the water vapor condenses on that particle, okay, the water vapor would spread. I mean, the droplets, water droplets will spread on the surface of that aerosol. Okay, suppose this is an aerosol. This is an aerosol. If the aerosol is having affinity for the water, then water vapor after condensation would spread on this surface. Okay. If the aerosols do not have the affinity for the water, then it will not spread on the surface. It will remain intact as a spherical surface on the aerosol. Suppose this is an aerosol, it will remain like a spherical particle on the aerosol. Okay, so that means that two types of aerosols that we are talking about, one having the affinity for water and other which do not have the affinity for the water. Okay, so this kind of particles which have got the affinity for the water is called the hygroscopic particles. Okay, hygroscopic. Okay, and the nucleation that occurs in such type of surrounding environment is called the homogeneous nucleation. Okay, homogeneous nucleation. Nucleation. So hygroscopic particles. Okay. Other is the hygrophobic, in which case the water droplet remain as a spherical particle. For example, you know, the body of a car, if you have a car Okay, you might have seen that. Okay, the body of the car sometimes is waxed. We put wax on the surface of the body of the car so that now when the water vapor condenses on that, they condense immediately like a form like immediately like a water droplets and could fall down immediately, roll down. Now we put a wax on the surface, and the water droplet that form on that immediately rolls down and falls away. Okay. Whereas in case of the hygroscopic type of particles, it would just spread and remain as sticking on the surface. Okay, hygroscopic. So the nucleation of water vapor or formation of the water droplets. Okay, the formation of the water droplets in the presence of the aerosols is called the heterogeneous nucleation. Okay, called the heterogeneous nucleation. So you have got homogeneous nucleation and you have got heterogeneous nucleation, right? In such cases, such cases, the growth of the water droplets is much rapid and faster than compared to the homogeneous nucleation because in such cases the droplets can form at a very minimal supersaturation. As I said, in case of homogeneous nucleation, it requires a lot of supersaturation, sometimes 110%, sometimes even more than that. Okay, 115% supersaturation may be required. We say that air is saturated when the relative humidity becomes 100%. Right? So, in case of the pure water, the formation of the water droplets, for the formation of the water droplets, we need to have a lot of supersaturation. Right? Whereas for the heterogeneous nucleation, even if the supersaturation is very close to 100%, let us say now 101% or 102%, also the water droplets can quickly form. Okay, and that's what happens in the real atmosphere. Real atmosphere is generally not always clean. Okay, even over the ocean, where there is no pollutant, no, which are normally found over the land area. Even over the ocean also, you might have studied that from the ocean surface. Suppose this is the ocean surface. Okay, the ocean surface, ocean water contains is saline, right? Ocean water is saline, isn't it? So there is salt in that. Okay, sodium chloride, salt in that. So whenever there is evaporation of the water, ocean water or the sea water, okay, along with the water vapor, this salt is ejected. The salt is ejected in the air. Okay, salt is ejected in the air, and this salt, as you know, NaCl, sodium chloride, acts as a aerosol for the formation of water droplets on its surface. Okay, and NaCl, the sodium chloride, has an affinity for the water, so it is a hygroscopic particle. Hygroscopic, scopic. Okay, hygroscopic. Similarly, the other salts also, which are hygroscopic, silver iodide, you might have heard about the silver iodide. And, and these are the salts which you might have heard or studied that are also used for artificial rain making. They're also used for artificial rain making. Have you heard about that? Artificial rain making. When we try to
Yes, sir.
spray, yeah, spray the silver iodide
Sir, cloud
on
seeding.
cloud seeding. Yes, cloud seeding. Exactly, cloud seeding. Okay, cloud seeding. So the physics or the science behind the cloud seeding is that we try to increase the number of aerosols in the air by spraying hygroscopic particles, the particles which are having affinity for the water, so that the water droplets quickly form on their surface and rapidly grow. Right? And as they grow, then they will start, bigger particles will start falling down, right? And in the way they will collide with the smaller particles, and that way they will keep growing in the size. The size of the raindrops will grow. Okay. So this is the fundamental behind the or basic behind the formation of the water droplets. Okay. Homogeneous nucleation, heterogeneous nucleation, etc. Okay. Um, we had covered these things now partly last time, but we shall just review it once again for your sake, for continuity. Okay, homogeneous nucleation, and we discussed last time that the formation of a pure water droplet, okay, by condensation from a supersaturated vapor without the aid of the particles in the air. That means the air is perfectly clean. It's called the homogeneous nucleation, right? Clouds form when air becomes saturated with respect to liquid water, or in some cases, with respect to ice. In which case, the formation of the ice crystals take place in the cloud, right? Ice clouds, like cirrus. Okay. So these things we had discussed last time. I'll quickly browse through uh, these points. Okay, we have discussed it last time, if you recall, and I had given you the video also for this. Okay, so I'll just highlight the important points here, right? Because we had discussed it last time, if you recall. So for homogeneous nucleation, the first stage is the chance collisions of a number of water molecules in the vapor phase to form small embryonic water droplets that are large enough to remain intact. Okay, this is important for the homogeneous nucleation. Okay, I'll skip these things because we have discussed these things last time. Okay, discuss about the this equation also we had discussed last time, if you recall. Okay, the delta E, the energy of a liquid, has the same numerical value as its surface tension, which we had discussed last time. We have studied surface tension in your BSc, I know. Okay, and I'm just repeating these points which we had discussed last time. Okay, so I'll quickly come to the important points, which say this one. This is an important equation, okay, which relates the energy required for the formation of the water droplets to the radius or size of the water droplets, which is given by R here, indicated by R, capital R. Okay, and we have discussed this just now also today. Under subsaturated conditions, when E, that is the water vapor pressure, is less than the saturation water vapor pressure. Okay, then I had just illustrated this diagram also on the whiteboard today, that in this case, the growth of the water droplets or radius of the water droplets would grow like this blue line. Okay, in which case y-axis is the delta E and x-axis is the radius of the water droplets. Okay, in other words, the larger the embryonic droplets that forms in a subsaturated vapor, the greater the increase in the energy delta E of the system, right? Because the system approaches an equilibrium state by reducing its energy, the formation of the droplets is clearly not favored under subsaturated conditions, right? Subsaturated condition, that means when E is less than ES, subsaturated condition, right? Because the system requires to reach equilibrium. It cannot grow indefinitely, right? Nothing can grow indefinitely. There has to be a balance, right? If we leave everything to grow indefinitely, nature does not allow that, right? There is always a regulation. So, in order for the balance or equilibrium to occur, the delta E must stop. Otherwise, it will keep growing, right? In the magnitude. All right. So, even so, due to the random collision of water molecules, very small embryonic droplets continually form and evaporate in a subsaturated vapor, but they do not grow large enough to become drought droplets because the air is subsaturated. E is less than ES. Now look at the other case. When E is greater than ES, what happens in that case? Now, under supersaturated condition, that is the supersaturated condition when E is greater than ES, then from this equation, the log of E by ES becomes positive. And if this becomes positive, in the previous case, this became negative because E was less than ES. So log of that became negative. So this became always positive. This remained always positive. And that's why it was continuously increasing, right? But in this case, when E is greater than ES, then this becomes positive, and the sign of delta E would depend on the factors like the radius of the water droplets and also the amount of supersaturation, right? Amount of supersaturation. So the variation of delta E, okay, with R, that is the radius of the water droplets, for E greater than ES, is shown in this diagram by this red curve, okay, where it can be seen that the delta E initially increases till the radius of the droplets reaches a threshold value R. The radius of the water droplets reaches a threshold value R. Okay. Beyond that, delta E drops, decreases, but R would increase, radius would increase. Okay. Or in order for R to increase, this will decrease. So an equilibrium will reach. Okay. So where it can be seen that delta E initially increases with increasing R, reaches a maximum value at R is equal to R, which is the threshold value of the radius of the water droplet, and then decreases with increasing R. Okay. Hence, under the supersaturated condition, embryonic droplets with R less than R tend to evaporate, since by doing so they decrease delta E. However, droplets that manage to grow by chance collisions to a radius that just exceeds the threshold value of the water droplet, that is R, will continue to grow spontaneously by condensation from the vapor phase. Since this will produce a decrease in the energy E. Okay. At R is equal to R, a droplet can grow or evaporate infinitesimally without any change in delta E. Okay, and we can obtain an expression for the radius of the water droplet in terms of the water vapor pressure by setting del D of delta E by dr is equal to 0. And so we can determine the radius of the water droplet by this equation, which is obtained from the previous equation that you have seen, right? Even this slide also we have discussed last time. Okay, this is called the Kelvin's equation. It's called the Kelvin's equation. Now let's see this figure 2. Okay, now this figure 2 shows the relation between the size of the water droplets, that is droplet radius in terms of micrometer, with relative humidity in the y-axis on one side and supersaturation on the other side. This is supersaturation and this is the relative humidity. Okay, so relative humidity, as you can see, is going above 100%, 100, 102, 104, 6, and so on up to 114%. And so is the supersaturation. Okay, 14% above the saturation value, supersaturation. Okay, so as you can see from this diagram, okay, you can see from the diagram, initially when the size of the droplet is smaller, okay, when the size of the droplet is smaller, then for the homogeneous nucleation, we require a lot of relative humidity or supersaturation, about 112% or 12%, okay, above supersaturation. Whereas when the size of the droplet increases more and more, then less and less supersaturation is required for the growth of the water droplet. And that is because the occurrence of the collision between smaller droplets and larger droplets, right? So when the size of the water droplets are larger, then we don't need to have so high supersaturation, right? Even at a small supersaturation, it can be even a few percent or even a few percent in terms of decimal, like at 104, 100.4%, 0.4% above the saturation level also. If there is a humidity, then the water droplets will start forming. Okay, so this figure shows the relative humidity and the supersaturation both with respect to a plane surface of water at which pure water droplets are in unstable equilibrium at temperature 5 degrees centigrade. Okay, so in this condition we can use this equation in two ways. Okay, one way is to calculate what would be the radius of the droplet, or otherwise what is the supersaturation required to form a radius of a particular size. Okay, we can use this equation for two ways. One is to calculate the radius of the water droplets, or otherwise to calculate what is the supersaturation required for the formation of a given size of the water droplet. Okay, so it can be used to calculate the radius r of a droplet that is in unstable equilibrium with a given water vapor pressure E. Alternatively, it can be used to determine the saturation vapor pressure E over a droplet of a specified radius r. Now, it should be noted that RH at which a droplet of radius r is in unstable equilibrium is 100 into E by Es, where E by Es is by inverting the last equation. Okay, it's the same figure that we have seen earlier. So the variation of this relative humidity, with the droplet radius size of the droplet is shown here, as we discussed just now. Okay. It can be seen from this figure that a pure water droplet of radius 0.01 micron requires a relative humidity of about 112%. That is a supersaturation of 12% to be in unstable equilibrium with its environment. While a droplet of radius 1 micron, when the droplets have become quite large, of 1 micron size, then it requires a relative humidity of only 100.12%. At a very little value of supersaturation above 100%, the droplets can grow. Okay. Even at 0.12% of supersaturation, the droplets will grow. Okay. This figure also we have seen earlier. As shown in this figure, R is the critical radius that an embryonic droplet must attain due to the chance collision of water molecules if it is to continue to grow spontaneously by condensation. Okay, we're talking all about the growth of the water vapor, water droplets by spontaneous condensation. Okay, spontaneous condensation. Therefore, for a specified supersaturation of the ambient air, if the critical radius, threshold value of radius R is decreased, which it is by the addition of the sodium sulfate, the homogeneous nucleation of droplets will be achieved more readily. Okay. When we add the foreign particles, some salt, the sodium sulfate, okay, so that R is decreased, then the homogeneous nucleation of droplets will be achieved more rapidly. Okay. Because the supersaturations that develop in natural clouds due to adiabatic ascent of air rarely exceeds a few percent, even if embryonic droplets of water, pure water, as large as 0.01 meter in radius formed by the chance collision of water molecules, they would be well below the critical radius required for survival in air that is just a few percent supersaturated. Okay. Consequently, droplets do not form in natural clouds by the homogeneous nucleation of pure water. Instead, they form on atmospheric aerosol by heterogeneous nucleation. They form by heterogeneous nucleation. Okay. So I think today we shall stop here because we have to discuss a little bit more about the heterogeneous nucleation in detail, which will take more time. And I see that today is already 1:40 now. So shall we stop here for today? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So we shall discuss the heterogeneous nucleation more in detail in the next class. It requires a little bit more explanation and elaboration. All right. So shall we stop for now? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question till now for today?
No, sir.
No question. I see that again. Some people have dropped out. Only 7 people are there. I see at present. I will stop sharing the PowerPoint, and I see many have dropped out. Only 7 are there. So anyway, we will continue our classes on Monday. If you want, I can, because we could not take some classes this week. So if you want, I can supplement those classes on weekends if you are interested. Are you interested to have classes on the weekends? Yes or no? Everybody is silent.
Sir,
Or you want to?
Saturdays it's okay, sir.
Saturday is okay. All right, not on Sunday, right?
Yes,
So,
a
That
Saturday
would
will
be
be
better.
okay.
so we'll see. I'll let you know the time, because time I cannot tell you now. If I find some free time on Saturday, because Saturday tomorrow I have a meeting. Probably there is a meeting of some South Asian Agriculture Forum. So I'll let you know, because the meeting sometimes, they stretch more than 2 or 3 hours sometimes. So I'll let you know. Okay. If possible, we will try to have a class on the weekend. If it is not possible, then certainly we'll try to have it on Monday. Okay. All right.
Yes, sir. Sir, where
Okay.
are you right now?
What is that? Alvin said something I could not hear. Alvin, what did you say?
Sir, where are you right now? I mean, you're out
Oh,
of
where I
India.
am right now. Okay, I'm in
I mean,
Kathmandu, Nepal. Okay. So it's quite cold here compared to Kerala. And even Rajasthan is warmer now. At least in the daytime is quite warmer. And you may be knowing that, I think the second year students are now asked to come to the campus. Have you heard that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they will have to come to the campus, I
No,
think.
sir.
Not yet. You have not heard that? Okay, they will come to the university, I think, in the first week of March, and they'll try to do as much practicals, because for practicals they have to be in the campus. So they will try to finish their practicals as much as they can. Also, they have to do the project work, so project also they will try to do. And you might have heard that, because as per the new regulation of the COVID, due to COVID, uh, the university will try to have, at least single room for each student. And since there are not so many hostels are limited, so therefore the students will be called in batches. Okay, not all the departments students will come, but only some departments will come for few weeks. They will try to complete their practicals. They will go back, and then the second batch will come like that. That's how they are planning. But for you, I think first year students, I probably will have to wait, because your end semester examination will be held in the second and third week of March. And after that, I think immediately your second semester also might start before this summer vacation, because everything is has been become irregular because of the COVID. Well, university is trying its best to regularize the things after the summer vacation. So this year summer vacation will be very smaller in days, very less days, number of days summer vacation will be there, so that we can start your course academic session on time as much as possible after July or so. Okay, this is what the university is trying to plan, I think. So all right, I'm going to stop recording also. Recording.